today we have a councilman, a Houston councilman, Michael Kubosh. As you guys know, there's been what seemed to have been a crime wave that's been played up a whole lot in Houston, Texas. And what we want to do is discuss some of the genesis of the problem, some of the solutions to the problem, and what one might believe is the problem. So welcome aboard Politics Done Right, Councilman Michael Kubosh. How are you doing today?
Thank you for having me, and hopefully we can clarify all this in the minds of the citizens out there about what the real problem is.
Okay, let's first define what's the real problem as you see it.
The problem is, as I see it, is the judges are not considering the habitual criminal history of these defendants and release them on free or low bonds, and they're going back out in the community and they're murdering people. Now, there's a lot of other issues that deal with misdemeanors, but I'm just now talking about felony cases. Misdemeanor cases, they're letting them out on a free bond. Most of the cases get out for free or a very low bond. DWI is now $10 to get out or $100, where it used to be $1,000 or $500. Now, the problem is when there's no accountability, there's no responsibility. The bail system, and I used to be a part of it for 27 years, is a proven system of accountability where the person who is bonded out is responsible to somebody in their family, their employer, somebody who signed or co-signed the bond, holding them also accountable as well as the defendant. Right now, there's nobody accountable except the defendant. And if he doesn't show up, so what? His case may never get adjudicated.
Okay, so your contention is that if somebody has skin, I think you're from the trend, the thought process that says if somebody has skin in a game, they're likely to behave differently if they put money. I would think that a habitual criminal, whether there's money in the game or not, it's not. They're a habitual criminal, correct?
Well, I didn't really understand that question, but I can tell you this. We have a proven system of accountability, the cash bail system, as they like to call it, where you have a surety. I never bonded anybody out of jail who paid me to bond them out. It was always a family member, a friend, a relative, a mother, a dad, an employer, a priest, a minister. And they bonded this person out. And I put my finger on them and said, you're responsible. Here's the documents you signed. They're going to have to go to court. If they don't, you and I are going to be up late at night drinking coffee looking for this individual. And so the family had accountability. Many of them had to put up collateral, their home, their cars. And so it would, not that we wanted their cars, not that we wanted their jewelry, but by having their jewelry, having their car titles, it put pressure on the defendant to show up because mama may lose her wedding ring, mama may lose her car. So consequently, now that doesn't exist. I don't know of any misdemeanor cases where anybody has to pay hardly anything to get out. During the Hurricane Harvey, one guy was arrested 5 times for looting. And each time he was released to go back and loot again. Eventually, he never went to court. His case was never adjudicated. I don't know where he's at now. But if he crossed state lines, they would never go after him on a misdemeanor case.
Let me ask you a question. Are the judges following the laws, yes or no? That's a simple question.
Yes, they are following the law.
The judges are following the law, and the law was written where again?
Well, the law is in the state of Texas.
Okay, hold on. Look, I mean, I love to have conversations as long as everybody gets a chance to say the piece that they want to say. The laws, the bail laws, were written in the state of Texas by Congress, by our state legislature. So they're the ones responsible for the laws being effected and executed by the judges who wherever in Texas. Correct? It's a simple question.
But no, judges don't have to follow the law.
Judges do have to follow the law. They have discretion, is what you want to say, though. They do have discretion.
But because there is legislative, there's a separation between the legislature, the judiciary, and the executive. So they can ignore some of the recommendations. I look at the statute as recommendations to the judges that they just simply don't follow.
Councilman Kubosh, there is a law. And these judges are following the law. The question that, and I think if we're looking for accountability, and I want you, we believe in accountability. Everyone should have accountability. The people who write the laws are our state, the people who run our state government. As such, as the state government writing the laws, we also know that the bail's bond people support many of these people who are writing the laws. Is that correct? Yes or no?
That is correct. That's correct.
Therefore, we have a bond issue, sir. You're absolutely correct. We have some judges that are maybe release people that they shouldn't release, but they don't know that they shouldn't, and they do release them. Agreed. I think we can postulate, both of us can postulate that. But thirdly, we are making we are trying to effect policy today. And you tell me if you think I'm wrong or right. We're trying to effect policy today based on the false notion that there is a huge increase in crime wave based on people being released on bond. Isn't it true that it's only 2% recidivism with bond releases? True or false?
That's false.
Tell me what it is.
I don't have the exact number, but
I do, and that's the number, sir. The number is 2%. There's, 2%. The reason I asked if you had the number is 2%.
I'm not going to argue that point with you.
And that's good. I appreciate that. But secondly, sir, it's not only 2%, but there has not been a marginal increase in the crime rate. In fact, the total crime rate in Houston has actually dropped, correct?
The reporting of crime has dropped. Crime hasn't dropped.
Again, we only work with numbers. Isn't it true that the crime rate in Houston has decreased?
You sound like Mayor Turner. You tell the story you want to tell.
No, sir. We are together. We want. No, we're not.
We're not together on this at all.
We want a safe Houston. We want a safe Houston.
Now that's a fact.
Both of us want that. What I don't want, and I want you to explain to me, what I don't want is a system that favors those with capital. In other words, here's what you told me, and I gave you extensive amount of time to speak, and I didn't interrupt you or anything of that nature. I made you speak. You gave your impression of people having responsibility for bonds, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. True? Now, here's the deal. If we were to change these laws, and I wish they did in Texas, the legislature that says, lock them up, those people with XYZ things. In other words, our Texas legislature is responsible for writing these laws. If you want these people locked up, write it into law. Put the responsibility on the people who write the laws. Now, that said, when you give discretion to a judge, you open the political game. In other words, what you open up for is for somebody to say, the activists like others would come out and say, well, look, if John Peter is from a poor family and John Amos is from a rich family, it doesn't matter how much money the judge says they have to pay. John Amos, from the fact that he is wealthy, whether he's a good guy or not, can get out on bond. True? That's a simple question.
When you say John Amos can get out on bond, on what type of a charge?
On any charge that the state legislature has put that there's a bond that can be offered for this particular crime.
But they have written in the law that they must consider the defendants, who the defendant is, his state of mind.
Sure.
Does he have? Is he likely to reoffend? Is he a danger to the public, to society?
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, those
all
kind
subjective
of things,
terms, right?
Yeah, those. But the judge still doesn't have to follow. Many of the times, the district attorney has asked for a no bond, and the defendant was released on free bonds, where they gave him 2 PR bonds. The person that killed Rosalie Cook, the 80-year-old senior, had been 22 misdemeanor convictions, 9 felony convictions.
He should be locked up. He should be locked up.
But the judge, a Republican judge, not a Democratic judge.
Doesn't matter. Did I mention the word judge, Republican or Democrat here?
But I'm telling you that he gave him a $5,000 PR bond and a $15,000 PR bond, and then waived the fees on the PR bonds, because I think it's a 3% fee.
Right.
And let him out. 20 days later, he found Rosalie Cook coming out of a Walgreens and he killed her. And his son said, her son said, look, he could have just pushed Mama down. Mama couldn't have got up. He didn't have to kill her. But he stabbed her in the chest and killed her.
You know, all of that is, sir, Mr. or Councilman Kubosh, I want to be respectful. All of that is right. And I'm with you there. These are.
I just want the public to be safe. And I want the judges.
And let me tell you how you make the public safe. And then let's talk about it, because I hear a lot of people really getting on these judges, and it really upsets me. And I'm a very pragmatic, very independent activist journalist.
Well, some of them got voted out yesterday. You know that.
Yes, I know. A whole lot of them did. And I think unwarranted. Let me tell you what I mean by that.
Well, I'm glad they're gone.
Let me tell you what I mean by that, sir. Okay? Because here's my fear. Remember what we said, 2% recidivism is what we have. So there are some otherwise people that really would do well and have a break with the bond that judges are going to be fearful to give because of this political thing we put around, making most Houstonians believe that the crime wave is going out of control, so much crazier than it used to be. Here's what I want to ask you, sir. The reason why there's so many guns on the streets right now is anybody can have a gun in a car. So we have the Wild Wild West in Houston, true? Anybody can have a gun, and we have a lot more of these people who get pissed off in a car and shoot each other, right?
But I don't know that everybody's got a gun.
No, but what I'm saying
is treat everybody as if they do have one.
Now we have an increase in guns that anybody can get without a license, and we have.
You don't have to have a license. You can carry it with you without a permit.
There you go. And what it means now is and how comes we don't attribute all the new shootouts with these new laws that goes ahead and have the Wild Wild West in Texas? It's simple. As soon as we got these increase in guns in the streets, a lot more shootings started to occur. That number is quantifiable. How comes we don't raise hell about that? Do we care about people? So let's raise hell about having all these guns with kids, 18, 19-year-olds with guns now. Why don't we raise hell about that? And the other thing that I want to ask you about, Councilman, because you're a good councilman. I know you. Okay. Let me ask you another question. Why don't we really go to the genesis of the crime problem in this city, in this state, in this country? You are a politician. You can do something about it. Tell me, why don't we actually give the type of policies within communities that prevent these things from happening?
Well, you know what causes it.
Yes,
we can imprison somebody, and it costs us more to put somebody in prison than it does to send them to Harvard University.
That's why I love you, because you know the solution. You know the solution.
It's education, and we have to give them an opportunity. Sir. That's why I talked to Millard House, our new superintendent, about putting the vocational training back in our schools. They took it out. And some people don't want to be doctors. Some people don't want to be lawyers. They want to be mechanics. They want to work with their hands. They want to be carpenters. They want to learn skills. Why not? Skilled positions. I hire people all the time that have skills.
Councilman,
whether or not it's putting on a roof or working on plumbing or electrical. We got to have skilled people.
Councilman, you're so right.
And unless we invest in that, we're going to continue to see more of what we don't like. And that if a man's got a job, if he can take care of his family, he don't have time to go out and rob and steal.
Amen. Councilman, you believe what I believe. And I know that when we look at things from a humane point of view, when we look at humanity, we have a tendency to come up with the same answers. So you know what's causing the problems out there. Yes, we have these killers that we need to get off the streets. Yes, we had some few killers that got that got put down, put out back into the streets that shouldn't have. There's a few of that. But I wish we wouldn't turn it into a political issue. And I wish we would go out there and, like you said, Councilman, which you are absolutely right. I agree with you. We need to start working on education and not just trying to make these things into political issues.
From kindergarten on.
Amen, brother. Amen.
Don't wait until they get out of high school when they can't even read yet. Do it at kindergarten on, where they have an opportunity to learn to read and to understand. And we need to teach them. We need to teach them how to be self-sufficient.
Councilman
some
Michael,
of these kids don't eat unless they come to school. They don't have that. They didn't have food at home. We have to provide for them. If you don't eat, you're not going to learn.
Councilman Kubosh, you know the answers. And you know what? There are a lot of people who know the answers, and it behooves me why more of us don't do what's necessary to get the job done. Because you know it, you know the community, you know that we can solve a lot of the crime problems by just doing things right. And it's not what I would like from a moral person like you is to get off the bond bandwagon and get onto a bandwagon. No, I'm serious. And get onto a bandwagon that solves problems. This bond issue is not solving problems. This bond issue is getting Texans against each other. It's getting Texans pissed off at people that they shouldn't be pissed off. And the people that they need to be pissed off are the people who hold the strings to government. Example, we need to make sure these people have good health care. We need to make sure all these people are well taken care of. Why the hell not do it, Councilman?
I agree. And you got to remember that about 96% of the wealth is controlled by about 6% of the population or less. Somebody said 2%. And we've got to do better to help our people. We've got to do better.
Councilman, you're a good man. Look, you're a good man. And let me tell you something. And you know what needs to be done. And what I implore to all politicians of every stripe, whether Democrat, Republican, independent, or whatever, drop these notions about gotcha points and let's work for the community. And I know you're willing to do that as well, sir.
Well, I would hope that the judges would consider the violent criminal history, listen to what the DA says, and work on trying to get these people some help. Don't release the mentally ill. You know, Judge Hidalgo built a hospital over there at NRG. Why not use it? And then they tore it down. Nobody ever got treated. Why not use it to help the people that needed help to bring people in?
Look, sir, bring people from the community into these solutions that you have as well. Work together with the leaders, and we'll get things done. We just have to get out of this. We just have to get out of this morass that we're in right now and work together. Good people working with good people.
Well, that's why years ago I had 2 foster group homes. I had 47 foster children, 2 foster group homes. I adopted a child. I had 6 living in my own home. And unless you are caring about people of all races, of all ages, you got to help people. People are needing somebody to love them.
Councilman Michael Kubosh, a good man, somebody that's going to drop this this issue about the bond thing, because you are much better than that. Thank you so kindly for having been on Politics Done Right.
Thank you for having me, Egberto.